Hi guys, we are on day 2 of Parabolas notes. So today we're going to be looking at how to graph parabolas and then also how to do the completing the square like we've done with our other conic sections so that we can get it into standard form so that we can graph it. Okay, so these two pictures at the top is that's just really there so that you can see what the parabolas look like, and they give the equations of the directrix, where the vertex is, all that stuff. I'm not really going to focus on that because I think it's much easier to just use your graph to name all these things, find all these things. The big difference, though, I want to point out from the day 1 notes is that now these parabolas are not necessarily centered at the origin, and so you can see the difference in the equations, right? It's still an x squared, okay, when we're talking about vertical parabolas, but you can see there's an x minus h and then a y minus k. That's what we're going to look at to find where the vertex is. And then you still have the 4p like we did before. So I'm going to jump, here is horizontal, and I'm just going to jump to the steps, okay? So you can go ahead and pause the video and jot these down if you want to. I'm going to talk through them, and then I'm also going to do an example. So I'm going to write an example in here, and then I'll go through the steps using this example. So I'm going to use x minus 2 squared equals 8 times y plus 3. Okay, so our first step is, and again, this is going to be when your equation is already set up in standard form like this, all right? So our step 1 is to figure out where the vertex is and graph it. So just like with all of our conic sections, we're going to look at what is being added or subtracted to the x and the y, and that's how you find your vertex. You always switch your signs. So the vertex here, you start with x and see what's being added or subtracted. It's x minus 2, so you flip the sign, it's a positive 2. Then you go over to the y, it's y plus 3, so you switch your sign, negative 3. And there's our vertex. And I usually go ahead and graph that right away. Then step 2 is to determine the direction that the parabola opens. So is it opening left, right, up, or down? So first you look at what is being squared, okay? The x is what's being squared here. That's x minus 2 squared. If the x is being squared, that tells us that it opens up or down. Then we look at this number out in front, right, to see if it's positive or negative. Since it's positive, it tells me that this is going to open up. And you don't have to necessarily write that down, but that helps because now I know, where I'm looking, okay, what it should look like. My next step is to find P and then graph the focus and the directrix. Remember, I always use 4P equals and then whatever that number is, so it was 8. So in this problem, that tells me that P is equal to 2, okay? So from that, I can graph now the focus and the directrix. We know that the graph is opening up, so from the vertex, I'm going to go up 2 units, and that gives me my focus. From the vertex, I go down 2 units, and then I draw that horizontal line, and that is the directrix. Okay, my last step here is to actually draw the parabola. Now, just looking at what I have so far, I need a little bit more. I can't just draw a parabola because I don't know if it's going to be super skinny or really wide. I can't tell just based on the drawing I have so far. So actually, it's not hard to find 2 more points on the graph. Whatever that value of P is, so we got P equals 2, you are going to double it and then go out that distance from the focus. So it says go out the absolute value of 2p. That's just telling you that you're going a positive amount on each side. So I'm going to do 2p, right? Multiply that by 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So I'm going to go out 4 units then on either direction. So on the right side of the focus, I'm going to go out 1, 2, 3, 4 units and make a dot there. Left side, 1, 2, 3, 4 units, make a dot there. Okay. And then that gives me a guide of what my parabola actually looks like here. So if you want to make a note, I'm going to change colors here. again, this distance from the focus to the vertex, that's P. Use that same distance going the other direction. And then from the focus out to your 2 points, you just do 2P. And that's how you find those extra 2 points that you need to graph your parabola. Okay. So let's do a couple more practice problems here. Find an equation of a parabola with vertex at 2, 4 and focus at 2, 6. Graph it, and we also want the equation, right? So again, I'm always going to start by graphing it. Anytime I can plot things, that helps make it easier to come up with the equation as well. So the vertex is at 2, 4, so I can plot that. The focus is at 2, 6, which is really helpful because, you know, from the vertex, I went up 2 units to find the focus, which means from the vertex, I need to go down 2 units, and that tells me where the directrix is. I can go ahead and draw that part in. And actually, I can also graph the entire parabola now, right? I know that P in this problem is the distance from the vertex to the focus. You go up 2 units, so that tells me P is equal to 2. I double that to get 4, and so then I go out 4 units in either direction from the focus, and that's going to give me what my parabola looks like. Okay, I know that it's going to open up because the parabola always has to open around the focus. So then coming up with the equation here. Since it opens up, I know that my general setup is that the x is going to be squared. So it'll be x minus h squared equals 4p times y minus k. So then I need to plug in my numbers. My vertex is at 2, 4, right? That the vertex is hk. So I can plug in my numbers. So I'll have x minus 2 squared equals 4 times, we said p was equal to 2, and then we've got y minus 4. So our final equation is x minus 2 squared equals 8 times y minus 4. Okay, one more kind of similar to this. They're going to give us the focus and the vertex. So it tells us the vertex is at -1, positive 2, so I plot that. The focus is at 2, 2. Okay, so I know that the graph has to open to the right because it has to open around the focus. And I can also actually graph this entire thing. Okay, for this one, the distance from the vertex to the focus is 3 units. So I know that P has to equal 3. So then I'm going to go left 3 units and draw in the directrix. Now, you know, in the end, like, the directrix is not really part of the parabola, part of the graph itself, but I do like to draw it in. I also know that from the focus, if P equals 3, then I need to double that, which gives me 6, and then I need to go up 6 units here and down 6 units to find my extra 2 points on my parabola. So this one's going to be a little bit wider. Okay, should look something like that. So then when I come up with the equation here, since it's opening to the right, left or right, our general equation is y minus k squared equals 4p times x minus h. Again, I use the vertex here, that's hk. And so then I just need to plug my numbers into the right places. So careful, y is first here. So it's going to be y and then minus 2 squared equals 4 times, we said p was 3. And then x, it's going to be plus 1. Remember, we switch our sign. So my final equation is y minus 2 squared equals 12 times x plus 1. Okay. Now we're going to do just a couple simple ones where they give us the equation and we just need to graph it. So, kind of following the steps we did earlier. First, we want to name where the vertex is. We look at x first, flip the sign, so positive 3, and then y, so positive 4. So my vertex is at 3, 4. Okay, next I need to figure out which direction it's going to open. Since it's the x that's being squared, that opens up or down. And since this number is positive, the 6 is positive, that tells me it's going to open up. So then I just now need to know how far up do I go to graph my focus, how far down for the directrix. So remember, I always use my equation 4p equals that number 6 to solve for p. So p is equal to 1.5. So then I know it's opening up, so from the vertex here I'm going to go up 1.5 units. Okay, I go down 1.5 units to draw in the directrix. And then my last thing is I need 2 more points on my parabola. Since p was 1.5, I'm going to double that to get 3. And so from my focus here, I'm going to go left and right 3 units. And that's going to give me the 2 extra points I need to go ahead and graph my parabola. Okay. Next one is similar. They give us the equation. So first, find the vertex. This one, careful, x is over here. So 4, and then y, it's y plus 1, so negative 1. Okay, next step, figure out if it opens left, right, up, or down. The y's are being squared this time, so that tells me it's opening left or right. Because it's a negative 16, it's telling me that it opens left. So next, find the value of p. For p equals negative 16, so p equals negative 4. So again, because that is negative, that's still telling me it opens to the left. So I'm going to go left 4 units to draw in the focus. I would also go right 4 units to draw in the directrix. Okay. And then again, because p, it's negative 4, but really when I plot these 2 extra points, I'm just going to use the value of positive 4. So I'm going to take 4, double it to give me 8. So then I need to go up and down 8 units from the focus. To draw in the parabola. All right. So then 2 more. The next 2 we are going to be doing completing the square. So normally on everything else we've done, we've said group your x's, group your y's, and then get the constant on the other side of the equation. These are going to be a little bit different because you're only going to have the x that's squared or the y that's squared. So in our last day of notes, these are going to be all jumbled together, so you're going to have to be able to pick out what type of conic section it is, and the way that you can easily tell it's a parabola is that only one of your variables is being squared. So whichever one is being squared, that's the variable that you need to keep on the left-hand side. That's where we're going to do completing the square. So you can see that it's the x that's being squared. So I want to keep the x's on the left side. So the x squared minus 6x, and that's where I'm going to put in the blank. This other stuff I'm going to add over. So I'm going to add the 8y and then subtract the 1 to the right side. So then I'll have equals 8y minus 1. Okay, so now I'm going to do completing the square on the left-hand side. So remember, it's b over 2 squared. So negative 6 over 2 squared is negative 3 squared, which is positive 9. So if I'm adding 9 to the left side, I also have to add 9 to the right side. When I do that, I'm going to rewrite the left side. So I have x. I'm going to, remember, I always use this value right here before it's squared. So x minus 3 squared equals. On the right-hand side, I was left with 8y, and then I combine negative 1 plus 9 would be plus 8. So then my last step to get this into standard form, The left side is good. X minus 3 squared equals. Over here, I have to take out whatever is in front of that variable. So I have to take out an 8 here, which leaves me with y plus 1. And so now this is in standard form, and now I can graph it. Okay, so from here, I need to find the vertex. It's going to be at 3, negative 1. So I can graph that. I then need to figure out which way it's opening. Since it's the x that's being squared, that opens up or down. Since the 8 is positive, it opens up. So then I need to solve for p. 4p equals 8, so p is equal to 2. So from my vertex, I'm going to go up 2 units to draw the focus, go down 2 units, that tells me where the directrix is. And then I double that value of p to give me 4. And from the focus, I'm going to go left and right 4 units to plot my other 2 points on my parabola. And there it is. Okay. So last one here. Again, we have to do completing the square because this is obviously not in standard form. So the y is what's being squared here, and it's actually already on the left side. Everything else is over to the right. So I'm just going to rewrite this and put in the blank. Okay, so we do b over 2 squared. In this problem, that gives me 4. So don't forget to add 4 to the right side as well. And then we're going to rewrite. So I will have y plus 2 squared equals negative 16. And then when I combine, I get minus 16. And then, again, our last step here is to take out whatever is in front of that x. So negative 16. And then I'm left with x plus 1 when I take out the negative. And then I can go ahead and graph. So vertex here, careful, x is over here, so negative 1, negative 2. This time it's the y's that are being squared, so that tells me it's opening left or right. Because 16 is negative, that tells me it's opening left. And then I find the value of p. 4p equals negative 16. So p equals negative 4. So I'm going to go left 4 units. That's the focus. Right 4 units tells me where the directrix is. And then I'm going to double that to give me 8. So I'm going to go up and down 8 units from the focus. And graph. All right, so that is it for day 2 notes over parabolas. Your homework for this set of notes is to just do the worksheet, okay, for day 2. Thanks, guys.